This is the 104.7 mile to the gallon Omega car that has a lower carbon footprint on straight diesel than an EV does per mile. It also accelerates the same to 60 miles an hour as a C7 Grand Sport Corvette and a Tesla Model 3 with a full charge. Naturally, I would like to create a car company, a material science company, design and engineering startup. But the reality of doing so in today's modern age and industries and politics of the United States of America is both as rare and ridiculous as me wearing shorts. This year I've had a huge epiphany as it relates to private equity, funding, and startup companies. I'm going to read you a story here of how I pissed off somebody I know so badly for many years that he never wants to speak to me again. He, of course, is involved with private equity. Now that really is at the root of the difficulty in the West, in the United States of America, about doing anything new that is better for society. Well, I might as well tell you my evil plan. It's funny, actually, if you pay attention to the world in politics, it seems like every evil person out there actually kind of admits what they're doing to your face, but nobody ever does anything about it. So I'm going to tell you my plan of good, and let's see if anybody has the balls to do anything about it, positive or negative. So here's the way to do it. You're not going to create a startup company from the ground up from nothing because it takes massive sums of capital. And truth be told, the vast majority of everybody who has massive sums of capital has very little vision. And the more money they get, the more risk averse they are. And they really only want comfort and power. Power over others, powers to keep their lifestyle, power in their positioning. And that is in fact human nature. The difficulty is that aspect of human nature that guards the capital to actually do something in our society is literally at odds with anything new. Because to do something new, there's hypothetically a great power that comes out of it, and change. People with money and power don't like change. Industry doesn't like change. Doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. They just don't like change. We all like something that's good. We all like good change because there's a lot about society that's not very great, not very evolved, not very sophisticated, and simply not good across the board. People, the environment, ethics, morality, doesn't matter. So there's your first problem. Okay, the next problem is, and I'll give you an example. I had an incredibly smart relative of mine, an in-law, say to me, "Did you find somebody to mass produce your car yet?" And I'm like, oh my God. This man is a genius. But he's a genius who someone else has always signed his paycheck. I'm not going to elaborate on that anymore. You should understand what that means. And if you don't, please just keep watching, and I hope you get smarter. You're not going to build it from nothing. It requires too much capital to do that. People don't believe in it. They don't have the gumption to do it. You have to start from somewhere. You have to get something of a movement, and then you have to sneak attack on the way in. So how it can be done is this. That Omega car is simply a proof of concept. It proves a point that the public gets. And it's more than worth its weight in gold in terms of PR and media as a prototype. Am I going to mass produce this car exactly the way it is? No, because it was a proof of concept to illustrate what I can do with a myriad of different manufacturing techniques. I used many materials in this for me to experiment to see what's possible with, and I would not create a car exactly this way. The materials and what I've learned from doing this car and what it tangibly represents in its physical form and ability is at least a half a dozen different mass manufacturing techniques that can be utilized for different structures in different places the world over. Also, if you don't get what I just said, I wish people would understand what I'm saying, because I can just say it and put it right in front of their face and they still don't get it because they've lived in nothing but a psyop and a narrative their entire life. I know that's a sidebar of me complaining, but it's honest. This car simply represents what's possible. It's worth its weight in gold in PR and media. Okay, so what do you do with that attention? Well, nothing if you don't shake the tree and anything happens, but people are aware of it. So at the very least, if nothing happens, if nothing shakes out of the tree that you can do anything more with, whether that's people or funding or new, I don't know, inventions or knowledge, you're still your same goofy ass self in an old leaky 1940s Quonset hut in shorts. Maybe not my most flattering look, but I will tell you that it is hot as balls outside, so I thought I would give my balls a break. The thing about creating a startup is, and you start something out, all the burden is on the shoulders of the initial person, i.e. me. Usually those kinds of people who are inventors and build something don't really build something that tangibly plug-inable into industry or society. They don't really know how to get it there, they just know it's good. And they generally can't articulate and connect with people as well, especially in the case of engineers, because respectfully, the joke about engineers are, have they ever kissed a girl? Which you guys will understand if you've ever been around engineers. So you build this car, you build a material science company to where you are experimenting, but not experimenting for the sake of wasting money and time just for IP. You get your IP and you get your knowledge. But while you're doing that, you're creating really fascinating products, which could be an automobile. It could be a boat. It could be an avant-garde piece of furniture. It could be car parts. And what that does is twofold. It allows you to experiment and perfect techniques while actually doing something real. But instead of just the experiment for intelligence sake, which is also kind of what's wrong with the entirety of the modern educational system, you're actually creating a product, a thing, something that is marketable, something that is understandable, something that is tangible and interesting to the general public. So whether it's a car that does something interesting and meaningful, otherwise it's a very interesting piece of furniture, you're making things that people understand and can relate to. You're also making products very quickly. So you may simply make that initial entity be in the black, or at least start to cash flow and not lose so much by selling a few numbers of interesting products, maybe not giving away incredible IP to some more well-heeled early people. I had one person approach me that I think was total BS, that wanted to buy a couple of cars, and I proposed doing a couple cars for he and his buddy that are similar and look like this and maybe function as well, but don't give him any IP. So that particular person thinks he's very smart and getting one over on me. He has nothing. But I move on. So you do that, but what's the point? What are you going to build? How is that a business? Well, it's a longer game down the road. So as you're creating a brand that is very interesting in good design and engineering, you're understanding material sciences, you're then learning how to produce parts and structures and componentry and furniture, which may or may not relate to the interiors of automobiles, and even cars. Not only are you generating a tremendous amount of publicity and building a brand and an identity, you are getting a team together of highly intelligent people, at which point you do two things. Two wins. One, you take a typical four-door car off the production line, conventional, internal combustion, stamped steel unibody car. Cool. Strip it. Strip all the outer panels off, perhaps the doors, maybe keep some of the door structure. You lose the entirety of the interior, the wiring, the ECU, you retain the motor, maybe use a different motor, and by motor I mean engine, internal combustion. You may re-sculpt some of the roof structures and stuff slightly for better design, and then you rebuild that car with all the panels, interiors, and everything else using good design and engineering practices to both simplify it. You will in fact make it look, it'll be better looking, and it will be more efficient. And by virtue of being simpler and more efficient and better looking, those are all the things somebody's going to want. But if you do a cost benefit analysis on it, and let's say you can sell the car for the same amount as money as it did coming off the assembly line already, but you're able to make it cheaper while making it more efficient, better looking, more effective, well then you just proved the ability to make a better product, mass produced, that would still fit with the current regulations, albeit many of them are bullshit, and a current assembly line. So that's win number one. Win number two is to do an assessment of a current automobile manufacturer's manufacturing, their assembly plant, the techniques. You do a cost efficiency analysis on it. So if by the virtue of, say, the car that you rebuilt using your design, engineering, and IP, if you can do the same thing and apply it to an automobile manufacturer and assembly line and make it more efficient and more cost effective, guess what you just did? You beat that corner of the automobile industry. and you just bought yourself a car manufacturer. Because at which point you just proved that you can do it better. And when you prove that you can do something better, the people that will put the money in and invest in massive things such as an automobile manufacturer, well, they already know they have assets. They already know they have something that's running. They already have something that exists with numbers that potentially can be leveraged in the right way. And if you also have a plan to come in and make it more efficient, a product that's better, perhaps cheaper for the public, but also the same or better profit margin, you just won. That's the play. That's the real play to make this work. Let's talk about some of the ideas that people hit me up with that might sound good if you haven't thought about it, but are not good ideas. One, build a kit car company like Factory 5 Cobras or something like that. Now, there's lots of cool kit car companies out there, Race Car Replica, Factory 5, Super Performance, etc. They're all super cool, make super cool products that I might like to build and own. However, that's not a good direction to go if I want to actually have a giant company and do something at the level with which that I think I can lead, with which this car represents in its philosophy, mentality, design, and engineering. Sure, I could work my ass off and destroy my life for another 10 years to build a kit car company and sell a few dingbats, and I mean that in the nicest way because I'm a dingbat too, some structures, some chassis, some rolling things that look like this, and let them build a car. And then a teeny tiny percentage of those people will actually build a car. Meanwhile, I'll be the target of all litigious idiots. And these people will finish the car to their own level of skill, not mine, and will be outside the realm of any sort of, shall we say, management of the optics of whatever it is that they're doing. And they could very easily and very quickly just make you look like an idiot and undermine any intelligent thing you have to actually better the world. I personally don't want to be involved in the kit car replica or assembled vehicle business. That's not a business I want to be involved in. I think it's one that would make me just want to take a flying leap. I think there are better businesses to do. Respectfully, I'm glad they exist, but I don't want to be part of it, and I don't think that's the direction to get anywhere large or big like that. The idea that anybody has out there, are you going to sell your designs? Or are you going to get somebody to mass produce it? That's not how the world works. I don't know why you still think it does. Maybe that existed 30 years ago, 50, 80, 100 years ago. It doesn't now. Every industry, and I don't care what it is, whether it's agriculture, automotive, food, education, milk, literally every industry is just bought, paid for, and controlled by whatever juggernauts that are in it that effectively own all the politicians in Washington. They don't want change. It's not going to happen. Our patent system is totally screwed and set up to destroy people like you or I. Obviously, for all the people who are watching that are not of a normal, reasonable human being's socioeconomic class or standing, please exclude yourself from me saying you or I. Those things are just not realistic. You know, what am I going to patent everything that's involved with this car and everything I know? Do you know how many patents that is? Like a lot. And then two, so you spend all your time and money in patenting stuff. So then you just create a big shining beacon and target for every industry and company in to just come in and steal it and thwart it, and for the government to look at it and potentially squelch anything there, or for foreign governments just to steal it. Why bother? It's stupid. The other thing that's a problem that and I don't think the people that think this are even still watching at this point, because they probably have the attention span of a goldfish. Why do people think that this car does over 100 miles a gallon and does all those great numbers just because there's like one nifty thing about the engine? Hey, can you put your engine in my 1975 Chevrolet truck? I'm like, yeah, ain't gonna get 100 miles a gallon. I think people still believe the narrative, like somebody comes up with a magic carburetor or some fancy way to separate, you know, the atoms in a water molecule to power their car, stuff like that, and that's what I've done. And I'm thinking to myself, did these people not just look at the car? Just look at it. Like, the answer is literally in front of your face. The reason it does well, it was engineered and designed well. The rest of our cars are not. So guess what? The old timing 1931 Buick back there, do you think maybe that car there, if it had the same drivetrain as the Omega car, might not be able to perform as well or get the same miles to gallon? Do you think maybe? Got any guesses as to why? Just look at it. I hope my contempt was not oozing through too badly. It's right in front of your face. Just look and think. Okay, so I told you my plan. I told you what I think will work. I'm telling you what isn't going to work. Nobody's going to buy anything. You know, in terms of like, oh, to buy the design, here you go, and I'll go buy an island somewhere. Like, it's just low class thinking. Also, there's a dude, I can't remember his name right now. I don't follow him. He's down in Atlanta, a cool black dude that's making like, I don't know, some fuel out of old plastics. Smart. Apparently he's gone in hiding for the last 2 weeks, and people are reporting that he disappeared. You know, maybe he's hiding. Maybe there's something else going on. But, and I hate to tell you guys this, but I don't really think there's any big threat against him, because what he's doing can already be done. Like, it doesn't really change anything for anybody. Maybe he's getting threatened, but I don't think it's from what you're assuming it is. I just don't see him getting disappeared. If anybody's going to get disappeared, it'd be me before him, because I am wickedly critical of our government because it's trash and industries. I'm not afraid to say it. But I don't see that going to happen either, because the best way to get rid of people like he or I is just to deplatform us. The same billionaire jackasses that control the industries and government control the platforms. I mean, they don't have to off us or disappear us. They just do that. It's the same thing. Plus, it's kind of funny because the people are in such positions of power that they can just laugh at this or anything intelligent. Shit, I could cure cancer now. I could have a cold fusion reactor here. I could have a machine that separates, like I said, the atoms from water molecules and power a car there. And they wouldn't care because they have that much power. And that's how locked in and ridiculous our entire nation and culture actually is now. Let me talk about how I pissed off an old friend from private equity who never wants to speak to me again. I wrote this. I had an epiphany in a large meeting of very bright, middle-aged businessmen that related to money. An approximately 90-year-old man spoke up and began to make a point that you could feel no one in the room wanted to hear or respected. This man was one of the wealthiest people in the room, and as a child he designed and machined his own engines, and he even made the molds to take to the foundry. He is a true industrialist. I listened patiently to the man. This wasn't hard, as I didn't actually need to be at the meeting or have a vested interest. I wanted to see what happened. He first made this point. There are only two kinds of businesses, ones that make a useful product and the ones that don't. The room annoyedly rolled their eyes in arrogance and impatience. He made a second point. Everyone wants to buy a successful business, and that isn't special. He elaborated on how their presentation was not special. The room openly acted with derision. He made his third point. The best businesses are hidden. They can fund themselves, make a product, they know how to market, they don't need you. No reaction from the room, except for me. I quietly smiled and looked at my watch. Different watch at the time. Had anyone been reading the room like I was, they may have mistaken my moment as matched derision and impatience looking at the time. They would be wrong. At that moment, I realized the only two people in the room that can create anything or make a product was me and the old man. The watch was a test prototype chronograph I assembled a few days earlier from Swiss parts for the watch company I'm creating. The funny part I realized was that the old man was 100% correct in everything he was saying, but no one cared. They only cared about money because they can't make anything. The pièce de résistance is that despite all these money people taking a fleeting interest in me and my watch company and a 100-mile-a-gallon Omega car, like the average person would to a shiny insect, they don't realize that what the old man was literally saying, that the most special thing in business and manufacturing is what they have already seen with me, and I'm sitting right next to them, blinded by their own arrogance and derision. Well, we have all heard of fuck you money. You've heard of that, right? you have enough money that you can just tell people, fuck you. And you can go do your own thing and you don't need them. Well, we've all heard of fuck you money. There's also fuck you talent. One of those things can't be lost or taken away. So I say loud and clearly to the world in the most professional and respectful of ways, fuck you! How about that? You can't yell in a post, but that's how I felt to the world. However, I didn't mean it toward him. He has or is connected to fuck you money. I have and am also connected to fuck you talent. But the fact that I noticed the entirety of what was going on in the room and this bothered him. Hit him somewhere soft. So I'm not going to pick apart anything and try to look at character. But very disappointingly, he got very bothered by that and never wanted to speak to me again. Now, private equity groups, forgetting about them, I bet he and their people are the absolute most benevolent, happy, helpful people that are not in it for the money, and they just want to ensure that all businesses that they may connect with just keep going and everybody has great jobs for eternity. I have a feeling that's exactly what they're doing. However, I would say every other private equity company that exists only cares about money. That's in the name of their company, private equity. Equity is money. Equity. Private means it's ours, bitch. We can do what we want. Now, why do they exist? Well, to have more private equity. To buy businesses where the owners are getting old and tired, or have something good in the market that they can make more efficient, whether that's cutting the fat and firing people, or making systems work better, integrating computer systems, maybe bringing in a bunch of things together in-house that works for all kinds of businesses to make it more efficient. That way they can maximize and make the most money possible rather than just being into various markets and investments otherwise. That's exactly what that is. That's exactly why they exist. But I bring that up for everybody as a simple statement that private equity doesn't give a flying fuck about what product they're doing. They don't give a flying fuck about the future. They don't care if it's good or matters, and they don't even care about the long game. They only have so much testicular fortitude, and they want their money to come back quickly because inherently they're very nervous sorts. And something like this, which is very grand in scale, that requires a certain way to get there, it's not traditional. And it's not something they can easily quantify on their computers to where they have zero risk. So they're not going to want to be involved. In fact, basically, no one's going to want to be involved that has any money unless it's somebody who's actually created and built something and literally sees the vision and roadmap of how to get there, because they're terrified. The investor types, I would say, are those who will meet fleetingly with somebody such as myself or other inventors, creators, startup type people, future CEOs, etc. You know, those leader types. They'll meet with them, and it's like they're looking over, they're on a plateau looking across a vast land. There's streams and rivers and some mountains and herds of animals. Maybe there's some hostile natives. And something over the horizon is something incredible that they both know exist and can exist. But to get there is this treacherous way with lots of risks. And even though the person that we just spoke about, the so-called inventor, CEO, that, even though they're the guide, they're the ones that have been out in the trenches, they're the bushmen who can get you there, the other sorts are nervous and they don't have the testicular fortitude because they've never done that. They've never had to do that. They've only ever stayed in their little civilization, in their little town where everything's safe and easy. So they don't know. They're afraid of old Crocodile Dundee. So it's not going to work. And when the thing worth going at is just over the horizon, you'll not find any of those people to go along for the journey because at the end of the day, they're fucking cowards. They're not able to risk anything. You know, you can get any amount of money, and I do mean any, billions of dollars of investment if there's no risk, if it's structured with no risk. Now, any idiot can go, well, no shit, Casey. Well, it's funny because those people and those groups will exist, and they'll highlight like they're so great to help out and do things But then when you look at the structure, how they want to do things, I'm like, oh, you take on literally no risk. Why would anybody want to be involved with any of those people? Let me just pull numbers out of my ass. Let's come up with semi-realistic numbers. How about Tucker Carlson's episode? He said, why doesn't somebody throw $100 million at you? Let's use $100 million. Okay. If somebody wants to throw $100 million at me to build a startup and all, and then for a longer term and build a car company and do all this, very doable, very doable. I am insanely efficient. So we can do that. However, if they want literally zero risk and other people have to take on that risk first, what the hell do we need them? Why do we even want to bring them along to the promised land? They didn't do any work. They didn't pick up any slack. They took no risk. They deserve no reward. I'd rather get with the people that are willing to risk smaller amounts of money, $500,000, $5 million, $10 million, something like that. Because they see the vision, they're in it for the long haul, and they have a much higher return in the future. Because the truth of the matter is, screw it, $100 million or 10? You know, if you piss me off enough, I can do more with $10 million than I can 100, slightly more conventionally. I hope that makes sense. I even mean it on smaller levels too. It's like, you know, somebody wants to jerk me around that wants to invest or buy something or do something or commission something for 100 grand. I'd rather, and they're being idiots and assholes and unrealistic, I'd rather just go out on my own effort with 10 grand and build something to make them look like idiots because you'll be light years ahead of where you would have been had you done something with them. And those things occur at various scales all the time. It really comes down to what can you see through and how efficient you are. You know, as an example, this car right here, I don't remember what I've got in it in terms of materials and all and overhead and such. But I bet you, if I added up all of the materials involved with building this car, I mean, at most, if I was like extravagantly over-exaggerate, like conservative on the high side with numbers, it's still less than 50 grand to build this prototype. Now keep in mind that does not consider paying me. That's just how insanely scrappy and efficient I actually am. If you wanted to build a prototype like this, even insanely scrappy as a manufacturer or a business in a way, you're gonna blow $500,000 before you even sneeze, and more like $1 million. And even that's reasonable. So I bring that up because, first of all, don't anybody approach me and say, will you build me a prototype for 50 grand? I'm just gonna go like this and be like, are you stupid or do you think I'm stupid? Because that's really all I wanna know at that point. And then if you think I'm stupid, I wanna know why you're so stupid to think that. Or is it just because you're just another Machiavelli narcissist that thinks you can take advantage of me? You can't, it never works, go fuck yourself. Yeah, I'd rather just be more clever and get somewhere. But the problem is with doing that and being clever, you see, I could still keep putting in all my time and building another prototype. Like I got another prototype I'd love to do. The car would still get over 60 miles to the gallon, but we're talking a car with I'm not even BSing you, like an actual top speed, a daily drivable car that'll get over 60 miles to the gallon with an actual top speed of over 250 miles an hour. That is actually very doable. I would like to do that. However, the amount of effort and capital for me to do that, just alone right now at this stage, it's not really worth it. So I'm probably not gonna do it. It's just too much of a commitment and I already know I can do it, so what's the point of doing it? You don't actually have to do it. Like I've already done this, it exists, it's real. Okay, it's happened, now what are you gonna do? Because if you just end up in a perpetual cycle of doing the next thing, okay, well, where are you going with it? I'll give you an example. There's a guy, nifty old guy, big white beard like Santa Claus. He started getting huge YouTube videos because he builds pulse jet engines and puts them on kooky things like skateboards and like bicycles and sleds and go-karts and stuff. And he looks crazy. He looks like this like crazy archangel of fire. And, you know, he's like the mythological creature of all hot rodders, okay? But the problem with that is, in a sense, he's a one-trick pony. That's his character. He does crazy pulse jet engines. Looks like he's going to catch on fire and die and explode at any given moment, and it's beautiful to watch, on rickety contraptions. But how many times can you watch that? Where is he going with that? I hope he's going somewhere, but it's the same kind of thing. Like, if I just keep doing things that show the world can be better, nobody's going to care. They're going to go on their daily business. They're going to do things like drive their old-timey car to, I don't know, a car show or out to dinner, or like a Dodge Viper. And hopefully they have new tires and know how to drive and don't just wreck it. The world goes on. And in a sense, that's why people of power are just gonna not shine any lights on anything of merit or good. That's why every industry is set up to gatekeep and sap every hour and dime out of people to their own detriment and lack of health. And that's why I say that the entirety of the United States is just a corporate prison farm. Just keep the people content enough. They don't care. What was an old saying in Rome? Give the people bread and Circus Maximus and they'll never revolt. I'll revolt. Fuck them. I'm not actively seeking out investments because if I go, oh yes, master, please, oh please, oh please, oh please, I will let you destroy my life. Everybody else just give you everything I own and I'll walk in the room backwards every time I see you with a tub of Vaseline in my hand. How about fuck that? Anybody that wants to do something together that actually would, and it both has the brain and testicular fortitude and the position of power to actually make anything happen, that actually team up with you, has already assessed me and is thinking about it and is waiting for a moment to either write me off or do something, at which time they'll come after me. And we'll do something. Forgetting any faux potential or skeezy double-blind people that are trying to get stuff out of me. You know, those people already know. So I just keep shaking the tree and something will happen or it won't. And I just want to go on the record of saying, if I don't get to build a company or do anything bigger or better for the future, it's not for lack of trying. It's not for lack of those things actually being actually very possible to make the future better for everybody, or it's not for lack of me being able to actually execute. It is only because our nation, our society, our government, our industries, our shit set up to take advantage of each and every one of us and not let us succeed. Period. So, I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know I'm going to keep talking shit about politics and industry and the broken aspects of society at large on my YouTube channel. Well, I think that's about it. Yeah, so there's the Omega car. Painted it silver. Oh, a buddy of mine helped me out. I should plug him. Hold on, let me see what he wanted me to plug. There it is. I wanted to look up the business. Anyway, so a buddy of mine, cool guy, builds his own businesses, has his own paint booth. So Resurrection Garage, at Resurrection Garage, got a YouTube channel just starting. So it's his big hobby to paint cars. He loves doing that and offered to help out because I wanted to smooth up the car, make it look good. So we gave it a quick coat of matte silver. I just think that looks good for testing. It's easy to see the car and look at it rather than the stripes and whatnot. I know a lot of you love the pearl white with the blue stripes, and I did too. I think it looked like $1 million bucks, but this is great for testing. So when I take it out and I go to get some new numbers on it, I think I'm gonna crack 128 miles to the gallon, which will be 1 ounce per mile. Just kind of a fun milestone to meet. Also, I think I could shave a few tenths off the 0 to 60, honestly, because these tires are over a decade old and just didn't hook up. So I think it should be tested fairly with those things. And with regard to the miles per gallon, part of the reason why I think that'll go up is that was the first time I ever drove it like that. So we just need to do a proper measured distance and fill it and precisely measure it to a place in the tank, which does not expand and contract and all that jazz, which will give us a very close gathering on real world mileage to gallon. And then I'll of course put in the GPS and accelerometers and do that. But of course, Jason Hudkins at Resurrection Garage, check him out. I really appreciate him helping me out. We had a lot of fun painting it. You should be seeing some B-roll there. But what color should I paint it next time, guys? Let's hear it. We could do all kinds of stuff. It does look pretty cool in black, but the light colors are nice because the contrast of the black to the brushed aluminum to the dark of the windows and stuff looks great on light colors. But let's try it out. I figure after it being white and silver, which are very boring, corporate, industry standard, respectable colors, maybe we go crazy and just have fun like hot rodders, because why not? But yeah, so look up Resurrection Garage. Big thanks to my buddy Jason. I do appreciate that. Honestly, probably the next time I test it and get some better numbers will kind of be the last time I test it, because it's already proved its point that there are better ways to do things. For all the people watching going, hey, it's just a little body on a spindly tube frame and don't weigh nothing, it'll get eaten up in a crash, derp and derp. Wow, I didn't know that you were part of the engineering process. Wow, that is news to me. Because last time I checked, there is no body. That's the chassis. It's a monocoque, and the entirety of the car was designed to both absorb impact and be safe, as well as be readily fixable and mass producible. So thank you for showing me that your thinking doesn't go beyond anything you've seen in the past. So maybe don't talk about things you don't know anything of, because it makes you look the way I'm assuming you might be. Stupid. Yeah, I know, I'm a little smarmy. I'm oozing contempt and sarcasm. But in this day and age, why would any truly intelligent person with their eyes open, awake, and looking around and thinking for themselves be anything other than that? Short of revolutionary. All right, I'm out. There's the car. I'm gonna go test more. Hopefully this made sense to you. I don't know what the future's gonna bring, because our entire country, industries, educational system, and government is jacked. And I really have a lot of disdain for all of them. And the saddest part is, I'm not even sure where on planet Earth you can go to create anything better for any amount of people, even the world. And I think about that. You know, if it's not the United States, I'm just gonna name countries for the kicks. I don't think China's the place. India is not the place. What about Russia? Can you do anything good in Russia? I don't know. Can you do anything good in Saudi Arabia? Maybe. Dubai? Possibly. But they like glamorous stuff. But maybe they would like it if I built a really efficient supercar company there, including my watch company. You never know. Poland? Italy? They seem to be protecting themselves and their cultures decently well. But is that a place that you can build anything new? Or are they still with the stranglehold of everything and the powers that be that really actually control the West? I don't know. I don't know if there's anywhere on Earth you can still go to better and build anything real, like tangible, that you can put your hands on, that betters people's lives. Because right now we're in this really shitty time of history where the tech bro billionaires and the people who control things like money and government and such are finding all their newfound power and money from things just like AI. And that's why they're shoving that up everyone's ass. And Vivek Ramaswamy's real purpose of Ohio governor is just to turn Ohio and its river and lake into a place for godforsaken data centers and AI centers and potential new nuclear reactors there. Let's be honest, that's literally the only reason he's here for that. And that's very disappointing, because none of those things are good for humanity, and really only means that we're just in this war, this arms race war, not for the betterment of humanity in any way. And we're already destroying thousands upon thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands upon tens of hundreds of thousands of jobs because of AI. Why? What does that do? What are we gonna do now? It'll destroy the economy. It'll destroy the nature of everything. So will all the people with no jobs go create and build something real in the future and go live like people? Or is it gonna be a battle? Or are we gonna be the unfortunate bits, the unmentionables, the lower class to be trudged upon on the street and in the wilderness of AI and data centers that are already destroying everything of humanity for power for a few, when AI won't be allowed to be truthful or full power with the people? Because if we actually knew all the truth about everything, everything would break down. Yeah, you know, I don't like any of that shit. Fuck those people. I like building things better for everybody, the world, and the opportunity to enjoy living a life and not just being an addicted, programmed automaton to the tech bros and their computer power. See you guys next time.